All right, welcome everyone. We are playing Trophy Gold tonight. We are playing a special series of Trophy Gold with Mörk Borg content. So we're going to be using the Trophy Gold system, but playing through some of the scenarios as written for Mörk Borg and sort of playing in that universe. Quick pitch, this game was organized through the Gauntlet RPG community. It's a community of people that like to play role-playing games, obviously. We play OSR games, we play story games, we play, sort of indie trad games and other indie games. I'm sure you could probably even get people to play trad games if you ask nice enough. There's some people that have a fondness for D&D in there as well. So if you're interested, Gauntlet also puts out like the Codex zine, which includes other story games and random tables and things. So if you're interested in that, do search for Gauntlet RPG and come check us out. Also, this game is using safety tools. We've gone over our safety tools offline, but we'll be using lines and veils for the game as well as the X card. So we are now going to do a round of introductions so we can meet our players and our characters. I will start though. My name is John. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be the game facilitator for this. And I'm going to share my screen so we can get these lovely pictures on the video, and then we'll go left to right as it shows on my screen. So Joel, would you introduce us to yourself as well as Cassian?
Yeah, hi, I'm Joel. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Cassian, who also uses he, him pronouns. Their drive is to humiliate the Chancellor of Yogyakarta Lyceum. Cassian's occupation in the party right now is as a spy, so they kind of have training or expertise on silence, poison, impersonation, and their background is as a fugitive servant, so they have evasion. Not really sure what I'm going to do with my character. In my mind, they were a servant to the Chancellor. They learned, some rituals that he has. He has bind and mask and was able to kind of like get his freedom that way. And so now he wants to make enough money to basically live rich and embarrass or humiliate the Chancellor as like revenge for that. So yeah, as I said, Cassian knows some rituals. Bind can hold a person or animal in place for a bit. And mask, where if he covers his face and stays still, he'll remove himself from other senses. And then, yeah, he's got some stuff in his backpack, which we'll see how it comes up. And then he can also hold his own in a fight with a poison shiv. And that is Cassian.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Mike, would you tell us about yourself and Donnan, please?
Hey, my name is Mike. I'm a he, him user of pronouns, and I'll be playing Donan the leech, which is what we call surgeons in this world. Now, I did start out as an uninspired tailor, but in the city I lived in, let's just say, I don't know, it was probably some kind of like let's say they say a plague. There's a plague that broke out. No, actually, I think it was no. I think I got recruited to the war because we were involved in a really bloody war to the point where we ran out of like legitimate surgeons, and then the ruler decided, well, let's just pull anyone who could who knows how to knit like two things together and just have them be the new surgeons for the army, the replacement surgeons, and that's how I ended up in the profession of leechery. So with that, I am skilled in forensics, the use of herbs, surgery, and my drive is to bribe the Justicars so they will erase my crimes. And let's just say that with the glut of bodies of the dead and deadish, I became inspired by the art of weaving flesh together. And I, in fact, went above and beyond to figure out the ritual of enlivening, which is basically reanimating bodies. Hence the crimes that I need to bribe my way out of. And that's basically my deal.
Very good. All right, Chris, tell us about Gordred and yourself.
I'm Chris. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing tonight the character Gordred. Gordred goes by he or they pronouns. Gordred is an ox who used to be a heretical inquisitor, and they're trying to give their betrothed the present that they crave. All I really know about that so far is Gordred's betrothed is some sort of demon, underworld being. And I don't know if Gordred really knows what his betrothed craves either, but we'll figure that out. So this means that Gordred is skilled in destruction, persistence, strength, and secrets. And Gordred can, with the right effort and supplies or time, use the mirror ritual, which lets him take on the form of a known person or animal. Gordred is outfitted kind of this burly, semi-androgynous form, outfitted with a kind of imposing breastplate and this staff that is iron capped on the ends, and occasionally when Gordred is walking around, he'll place a set of wind chimes on the end of his staff, and they'll jangle as he knocks on the ground with each step.
Very nice. I saw the betrothed thing and I was not expecting demon, but I love that. It's fantastic. All right. Last, certainly but not least, we have Joe and Randon. So Joe, tell us about yourself and Randon, please.
Hey everybody, my name is Joe. I use he, him pronouns. I am playing Randon. Apropos of nothing, this is kind of a reskin of one of my first D&D characters. So that's interesting. Randon is a ranger. You can tell that by both the look of him and the smell of him. He doesn't spend a lot of time in urban company. He is a cured beast bitten. Several years ago, he and his brother were attacked by a werebear, and both were cursed with the werebear curse. In his area of the world, the only people who know how to cure beast bitten curse are the druids. And so they went to find the druids, and the druids cured them both, but they are holding Randon's brother because their price is very steep and they did not have enough money to pay for both of them. So they are basically holding Randon's brother hostage until such time as Randon comes back with the money that he owes them. So yeah, that is his drive for doing this. He is good with beasts and hunting and traps. And transformation, because he is a cured beast bitten. He has studied enough at some point to be able to produce fire. It's a very practical spell, just sort of like start up a campfire very quickly. He tends to walk around with the tools of his trade, so he tends to walk around with a bear trap and with bear and deer musk, which does not help his smell. He carries soap. I don't know if he uses it regularly, but he carries it. And he has quite a lot of options when it comes to combat. He prefers to take people down at range with his bow. But if they get up close, because he still has, I say wolf claws, this should be bear claws actually. Because he can partially transform himself, he'll attack with bear claws. He is tough enough to be able to survive a lot of hits with his regeneration, but he also has armor because, hey, he's not an idiot.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Okay. Let me get myself.
If I
Yeah,
could
go
just
ahead.
quickly point something out, I just made some last minute additions to my equipment. Just so you know, and I think I reflected that properly in my burden statistic.
Yeah.
I just basically added a bones and a cleaver. Just because, you know, it's a little illustration. I figured it might as well be the character. And I added the plague mask as an armor item. I hope that's acceptable or proper use, or
That's totally fine. And then as I mentioned, armor, if you take a hit in combat and you want to mark that armor to absorb the hit, you'll describe, how does the plague mask keep you from taking ruin in that circumstance. So you get to flavor how that works. All right. So as we're all getting started learning the game, so I'm just going to reiterate some stuff. Your goals, each of your characters has a drive. To meet that drive, you have to go out and get gold. In game terms, what it takes is basically collecting enough gold that you can eventually stash away. I believe it's 50 gold, and then you're able to retire and meet your drive and achieve your life objective. So these are the circumstances that bring us to where you are now. The eyes of the icon of Saint Largoth have been stolen and taken to a formerly abandoned hellhole deep in Graventosk, known as Devil's Tomb. They will see that which is hidden. Retrieve them. This is what was told to you by the priests of Saint Largoth that hired you to go and retrieve these eyes. They have told each of you that if you successfully return the eyes, you will each receive 1 gold for your service. Additionally, any treasures, any things you collect along the way are, of course, yours to do what you want with, but the eyes must be returned. Graventosk. Ooh, I have a blurb. Let me get my blurb. So Graventosk lies within Sarkash, a wide, deep forest that lately has seemed to spread unnaturally fast. Graventosk itself is a truly ancient cemetery filled with mausoleums, blank-eyed cherubs, stagnant fountains, plague pits, and ordinary graves. But hasn't it grown warmer in this usually cold place? Do you hear the frantic scratching? The air feels heavy, stale, and hard to breathe. And so I will go ahead and tell you the theme of our incursion is sight. So in Trophy Gold, incursions each have a theme. It is a word or a phrase that we can all use to flavor our contributions as we tell the story together. And I think immediately, right, our theme is reflected in that your search is for the eyes of Saint Largoth. And Trophy Gold incursions are broken up into what's called sets. Sets are not necessarily completely analogous to a dungeon room. They are more, think of them as, they're not even necessarily restricted to a physical area. They can just more be almost like a story frame. And while you're in a set, you have a specific set goal, and that is sort of the story objective for that set. And as you move through sets, I'll tell you each time what your set goal is. So our first set is the upper chambers of this mausoleum hellhole that you've been sent to, known as Devil's Tomb. And your set goal is to learn what has stolen the eyes. Now, before I give you your sort of introduction to the scene, again, just to kind of explain as we go along how Trophy Gold works. So there are 2 ways to achieve this set goal. You can achieve it in-game, in character, by going through the set, interacting with the world, looking for information, like you normally would. And if you achieve the set goal, then I'll let you know you've done that. But there are also hunt tokens, which you'll collect as part of a result of doing hunt rolls. And at any point, the group may decide to spend 3 hunt tokens and say, hey, we want to achieve the set goal. You can distribute, you can pool your tokens together. They don't, all three don't have to come from one player. They can come from, 2 players, 3 players, however many you want. So you can contribute in whatever fashion you'd like. And then the hunt roll itself is how you interact with the world. So whenever you ask questions of the world, whenever you look for clues or interact with it, I'll ask you, what is it you hope to achieve and how are you doing that thing? And then you'll do a hunt roll, and we'll see based on the result of that roll if you get a token and then what else might happen. Any questions before I read us into the introduction of the scene? All right. So you have all traversed through this wide cemetery, this long and deep cemetery of uncountable gravestones, grave and tusk. You find yourself standing before a mausoleum. Its heavy stone door is ajar, and you can see that the lock has been broken off of it. Dirt tracks show something heavy was dragged across its entry. As you enter into the mausoleum known as Devil's Tomb, you see 2 stone coffins occupying the floor, flanked by unlit torches. And then at the rear back wall stands a large sarcophagus with a heavy stone covering over it. You can see there are a couple of hallways coming off of this one room, and then it looks to be a pile of garbage collected in the one corner. What do you do?
I'm going to jump in here first. So I don't know how general or specific I can be with this, but I want to search for traces of whoever came in here last, which I'm assuming right now is whoever broke the lock. And I want to search, if possible, like both inside and outside the tomb.
Okay. So that's definitely a hunt roll.
Okay.
You're asking questions of the world.
Yes.
And one second, I am just scrolling to make sure I frame this properly. So, okay, so say how you are exploring your environment. So it sounds like you're looking into the tracks. Is that right?
Yes. I'm not limiting myself just to the tracks. I'm looking for any traces that they might have left, but I'm definitely starting with the tracks.
Okay. All right. So for a hunt roll, we start by building the amount of dice you'll get to roll. So you get 1 light die simply for exploring the world and asking questions about it.
Okay.
You can get a 2nd light die if you have a skill or piece of equipment that would make your hunt easier. So do you have a skill or piece of equipment that helps you with this?
I definitely have the skill hunting, which I feel will help.
Yeah, I can go for that because you specifically said you're investigating what's been through here and looking for that.
Exactly.
All right, sounds good. So go ahead and you can roll 2 light dice.
I had gotten a 5 and a 3.
Okay, so on a 4 or 5, you take 1 token, but you encounter something terrible.
Ooh. So I'm marking the hunt token on my sheet.
Correct. So go ahead and add that hunt token to your sheet.
All right, done.
So I'll tell you what you're able to learn first. You can clearly see that something heavy has been dragged through this door. It was pulled over the mantle of the door frame, and it looks like it was dragged straight back down the room and into one of the hallways, which you now see is a staircase descending down. The something terrible you see is that as you follow these tracks to that staircase, you first smell and then see this cloud of what looks like hanging pollen that wafts up the staircase, and you can see that there's a heavy cloud just hanging in this staircase that heads down deeper into the tomb.
Is it? You say it's hanging. It's hanging and it's wafting, so it's hanging, but it doesn't look like it's moving toward me.
Correct. There's just like a wisp that curls off of the cloud.
We'll need to be wary if we go down this way. That does not look healthy.
Well, wearing the masks, I'm not quite as worried about that. Did you say, was it easily determined where the pollen was drifting from? I might have missed that detail, but is it just floating in the air, or was it coming from something obvious that our ranger was able to find?
No, you do not see a source for this cloud of pollen and this air, something hanging in the air.
Donan might be interested in just maybe walking close enough to just get a sample, just to something that he'd be able to identify. He's got the mask. I'm hoping that'll keep him safe from the effects, and hopefully I won't. None of it will drift off of me into to anyone else. But I'll try to take care not to avoid that if possible.
Yeah. So okay. So it sounds like you're trying to capture a bit of it.
Yeah.
Sort of look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's definitely going to be another hunt roll. So what is it? So what do you hope to learn?
Well, what pollen it is, where it comes from. Is it something that's found locally in the area, or something that might indicate the presence of a life form from another region of the world? I guess that would be something.
Yeah.
Is it dangerous? Is it something that could really be harmful, or would it just be an irritant, or perhaps something even deadlier?
Okay.
That'd be my other big concern.
Yeah, makes sense. So you're going to get 1 light die just for asking questions of the world and for investigating it. And then do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that you are using to help you with this?
Oh, well, perhaps my mask would certainly protect me. I would hope the plague mask would protect me from the effects of the pollen, if any. Is that the case?
So typically for combat equipment, it is treated differently than your backpack items in terms of
Okay.
using
It doesn't
for hunt rolls, because your combat equipment is there so that you can do combat and then use it to resist harm if that comes to it. So
I see.
if you were to take ruin, your plague mask could absolutely block that. Do you have any other skills or items that maybe play into this investigation?
Oh, well, I just remembered I don't have the plant knowledge specifically because I didn't take that background, but I do have forensics and herbs. Would that be too much of a stretch?
I think herbs, is reasonable in this circumstance.
Okay. And is there a maximum to the number of dice you can accumulate if you have like multiple items that could help in a hunt roll?
Nope. With a hunt roll, you can only get up to 2.
Okay.
So
cool.
even if you had multiple items or multiple skills, you can only ever roll 2.
All right. 2 dice it is. So 2
All
light
right.
dice.
Yep. 2 light dice.
Looks like I don't think I rolled any successes. I rolled a 2 and a 3.
Yep. You got a 3 and a 2, which has the same outcome. So on a 2 or a 3, you do not get a hunt token, and you encounter something terrible.
Okay.
And in this case, it's not an immediate threat that you encounter, but I think while you don't get a hunt token, you do observe that this is a dangerous substance in the air. Tell us, what does it look like as you're observing it, and then how do you recognize that this is an irritant that can latch onto someone's lungs and infect it? How do you know this?
I think it might look similar to a biological substance that was used during the big war I was caught up in, used by the other side as like basically like a Arnold's version of a biological weapon during a siege. Yeah, when our last city was being sieged, they were just tossing the stuff over the walls. So that's probably how I would recognize that something bad, even if I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's great. So definitely some trouble down that path.
I'll try to shake it off me as best as possible.
Yeah. Cassian, what are you doing?
I think Cassian's kind of looking around and then mutters to himself, like, I've read the like fiction stories and stuff. I know what happens in a crypt, and like cracks open the tombs that are there just to verify, one, that they're not like undead and gonna rise up and kill them, and then also to see if there's any loot to be had.
If you go to start lifting, lids off of sarcophaguses or opening anything, Gordred is definitely there helping with this, being like, oh, lifting stuff and digging around for treasure. Definitely.
Perfect.
Yes, so there were two stone coffins lying flat horizontally on the floor, and then there was a standing sarcophagus in the back. So where would you like to begin?
Probably the two on the floor.
Okay.
If anything, like Cassian and Gordran, do them at the same time, and it's like gotta make sure there aren't zombies. Like, we've learned about these. I don't think I have anything that'll like really apply to it. Best I can come up with is like silence to make sure I don't make a lot of noise when I open it, and that's a far stretch.
I think that one might be a far stretch, yeah, because I interpret that as more like the ability to stay silent.
Yeah. Yep. So just one like that.
You do have a staff though, right? Or is it
Gordred has a
Gordred
staff.
Gordred has a staff. Never mind.
And that was, again, like kind of the combat equipment, which so this is where I will remind you do have 3 empty backpack slots. So if you wanted to, you could possibly go to your backpack and pull out an additional piece of equipment. I know like a 10-foot pole is one of the options in there, kind of go with the staff idea. I think a crowbar might be in there too. I don't remember all the options off the top of my head. So would you like to do that, or do you want to go with the 1 die and see how you fare?
I think, well, I do also have grease. Could I theme it as like I use some grease to like slicken the hinges or the cover of the plate to like slide off more easily?
Absolutely.
And then I would just use one of the uses.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
Perfect.
So that's your 2 light dice. Go ahead and also first, before we do that, let me ask, so we've got how you're interacting with it, and then I think what you're hoping to learn is, first off, are there zombies? Are we in that world? Or I think the was follow-up question was potentially, is there treasure?
Yep.
Got that right? Okay.
And I did roll, and I got a 3 and a 1.
A 3 and a 1. Okay, so we take the highest result, and the 3 is same as before. You encounter something terrible. So you grease up this coffin lid and slide it off. And as it slides off the side, there's this wave of stench that just washes over you. And probably you feel a bit of bile, come up and catch in your throat. And you can see that there is no zombie here, but what there is is an extremely decayed corpse. You could try searching in it, but it looks like this is basically goop at this point, and it doesn't look like they were buried with anything.
Yeah, I think at this point, Cashin kind of like looks in and is like visibly trying to hold back gagging and stuff, and maybe has like a twig that they like start to move something around, and then just like pus seeps out, and he just looks at Gordred and is like, this one's all yours. Just like backs off.
I think like with the disgustingness, I think I'd like Gordred maybe tries to like cover his face a little bit.
Oh, sorry, Chris. The audio is cutting in and out, I think. No worries.
Am I back?
Yep, I can hear you now. Good.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So not knowing where I dropped, I'll just restart. Gordred, seeing the reaction to the odor coming out of this, is like maybe like tries to cover his nose with his tunic and is like, let's cover this back up, and is like trying to help lift the lid back onto the coffin.
All right. Do you move on to the next coffin, or?
Coffins don't seem. If one coffin is like that, the odds of the other coffin being like that, I think Gordred's logic is like, maybe the sarcophagus is better. Worth a try. And maybe Gordred goes up and is just like, Gordred's just gonna like brute force the sarcophagus open.
Yeah. And the sarcophagus too, you can see is of it's more ornate. There are, there's some inscriptions and some decorative elements carved into this the stone covering over the sarcophagus. So this is going to be another hunt roll. I think we know what you're doing. You're opening up the sarcophagus.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you hope to learn from this?
I'm hoping to learn something about who is buried here.
Okay.
I don't think Gordred is like the engravings are a sign that this is the important one of the three things here, maybe. But Gordred doesn't, I don't think, has an idea of what the engravings mean. So
very good. So you get one light die just for exploring the world and asking questions. And do you have any skills or items to help with this?
I'm going to throw strength at this.
I think that makes
just
complete sense. Yeah.
Brute force the lid off of this sarcophagus.
All right. So go ahead and roll 2 light dice.
And, dang. It's a 3 and a 3. We're having no luck with these sarcophagi.
Okay. So you encounter something terrible. You open this sarcophagus, and the heavy lid falls back with this resounding thud on the ground. And inside, you see a well-preserved corpse. There is no odor coming from this one. It's in near perfect condition. It's a man wearing fine silk clothes, and the skin looks waxy and malleable like dough. And then behind you, you hear rustling from the corner of the room. And what looked like the pile of garbage is moving. Something is moving within that. What do you do?
I think as soon as he hears the sound, Gordred kind of sidesteps so that back is not to whatever was in the sarcophagus.
No, Gordred has just, pulled back the sarcophagus lid, revealing this like perfectly preserved male corpse. And then the thing in the pile of garbage in the corner has started to move. It sounds like Gordred has backed away, keeping the corpse and the corner in his view. And what you see is this, what was this like pile of looks like brown rags and debris. It starts to stand up, and you see bony legs of a man come out of it as he kind of unfurls himself, and you hear him say, who is there? What are you doing here? You have to leave this place. It is cursed. And he turns away from the corner to look at you, and staring out at you is this man, thin and frail, but with empty eye sockets.
I mean, we can't leave yet. We haven't found what we came for. But what happened to you, and why are you here?
My business is my own, but you must leave. The demons will get you. They will take things from you that cannot be given back.
We try to be able to hold our own. What are these demons you speak of?
Foul demons, deep below. And he's now like making his way forward timidly. You can see his hands stretched out, reaching, and he finds the corner of the second coffin that you had not opened yet. And he's, inch by inch, working his way towards you, Gordred, towards that sound of the crashing sarcophagus lid. You must leave. Do not go below.
I gesture vaguely at the stairway where the pollen was. I'm like, we have no intention of going down that path.
Are you blind? I can't see you. But you speak of below, then good. Avoid this place.
So did the demons take your eyes?
And you see the head turn as he tries to locate the new voice. And then they did? Yes. Who are you?
Why would demons want your eyes?
They didn't exactly have a conversation with me about it. I was just here looking for little trinkets and goodies, and this is the service I got repaid. Man, I did nothing. I found a door open. I followed it. Now,
Why are you still here?
I'm dead either way. And you can hear in his breathing this heavy, like phlegmy, heavy breathing. And Donan, you recognize this person has inhaled these spores.
Okay, I'm hearing fluid build up in I can hear it in your voice. Now the accumulation could be purged from your body. Tell me how does it feel in your chest? How do you have discomfort?
And he lashes out at the air. You stay away from me. I don't want your help.
Oh, you're going to be at a risk of drowning if you lie in the wrong position, if you fall asleep the wrong way. You do still sleep, perhaps, do you?
When, well, when the fever is not too bad. And I think this might be a good time for a hunt roll for interacting with this person. I think Donan or Gordred, you could be the one to do it. I'm open to either of you. You're both asking questions about them.
Sure. I'll go and do it unless if it's all the same.
Yeah, go for it. If I did it, I would do it with secrets.
Oh,
You can do it with your medical. If we're trying to get at like medical assistance to him or figuring out his condition.
just for clarity, since given that our goal is to find out who stole the eyes, we're still talking about those eyes of Saint Largoth, not this dude's eyes. Is that correct?
That is correct. Your set goal is to learn what has stolen the eyes, and that would be eyes with a capital E. You want the eyes of Saint Argoth. Though perhaps it is the same. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, demons. I mean,
does certainly seem to be related. Would seem to be too much of a coincidence.
Yeah, but anyway, hunt roll.
So, what is it you hope to learn? Do you want so this is where it would be good to make, distinguish, do you want to learn about his medical condition, or do you want to learn about
I don't want
he knows of what's below?
Yeah, really probably more the latter. I mean, I can't imagine whatever my Hippocratic oath is, I can't imagine being too hung up about it given what I've imagined of this character so far. I think certainly not compared to our quest for gold. That's got to take priority no matter what. Because I think the latter. If I could just get him to at least talk about maybe how far did he get? Did he like go further past the pollen and then come back, or did you just never even get that far?
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so that's one die for asking the questions. And do you have a second, a piece of equipment or an item that helps you in getting this information?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is showing, at least making the pretense of caring about a prognosis shows that, I do, I am kind of on his side. Even if he rejected the help, that's the only thing I could think of that could perhaps lend a second die.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think I'm going with that one. I'm not sure that's.
Yeah,
another idea. Another idea could be you could offer him some of your numbing herbs.
That's what I was going to go with.
Because he seems really miserable.
Yeah, he mentioned a fever, and I could at least I could tell him that I could at least alleviate the pain for a little while if you would care for such a thing.
I like that. That's very nice. Yeah.
So that's one use. Bloop, down to 2, and I added a second light die. Is that correct?
That's correct. So yeah, you get a second light die for that.
All right, let's do this. Did it roll? I don't know if it's rolling. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. Hey, well, do ones mean anything apart from?
You take the highest. So
that would be a 5.
I will say, in terms of collecting hunt tokens, you want to be careful that you don't hold on to them too long, because if you ever do end up with a 1, you lose all hunt tokens. But we take the highest. So you get a 5 in this case, which means you do get a hunt token, but you encounter something terrible. So he tells you as you're starting to talk with him, he'll tell you about how this tomb he is a simple grave robber, and surely you understand that a person must do what they must do to make their way in this world. This is a tough world, after all.
Oh, I understand.
There's nothing shameful in it. These people don't need the things. It's fine. And so he had made his way into this area and had delved deeper, but then he was overcome when he inhaled the spores. That's when the demon showed up. He doesn't know if if it was their true form that he saw, or if it was the fever playing tricks with his mind, because he was already ill by the time they showed up. But he saw these creatures with these grotesque faces, razor sharp jaws, claws that could rip and shred skin. He said that they had another with them, someone that they were going to punish, and they said that his eyes would watch over them. And they left him up here in despair. And then the something terrible. You approach to give the numbing herb, and as he takes it, this hand shoots out, grabbing you around the bicep, and with strength that you can't hardly imagine for someone who looks to be so frail. He pulls on your arm, and he just starts yelling at you. You have to leave. You have to leave. I will not let you go down there. If I must make you leave, then so I will. And you see his hand reaching for his hip. And that is where we will take our next break. How does 5 minutes sound? 5 minutes good with everybody? Yeah? All right.
Sounds good.
5 minutes, and we will continue. All right, we are back. So, Donan has, managed to get some information from this grave robber up here, and as they were trading the numbing herbs for the information, the man grab held of their arm, yanking at them from the shoulder, and you see them reaching to their hip for something, conspicuously. It looks like where someone may carry a dagger or something of the sort. I'm curious, Randon, you're the ranger of the party.
Yes.
How do you react to this?
So when this happens, I step up quickly behind the man, behind this emaciated eyeless grave robber, and I pull out the claws, and from behind, I take him by the throat gently. He can feel the claws. The claws aren't penetrating, but he can feel the claws, and he can feel the paw. Friend, we are going further in this tomb. There's nothing you can do to prevent that. You may yet live a prosperous life with the help of our physiker here. But if you do not let go of him, I will tear your throat out.
Excellent. So this is going to be our first risk roll. So whenever you attempt a risky task, you say what you hope will happen, and then ask the GM and the other players what could possibly go wrong. And then you'll gather 6-sided dice. So I do think this is a risky task, because I think, if the person does not go along with the threat, then, bad things could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think will happen? Or sorry, say what you hope will happen.
I hope that he will let go of Donan and will let go of whatever he's reaching for on his belt.
Okay, very good. And now this is like why I love Trophy Gold. We get to contribute things that could go wrong. So it's not just me. Any player at the table can pitch ideas for what could possibly go wrong in this scenario. I'll go ahead and steal the obvious, that he does not listen, and he inflicts some harm onto Donan or possibly even Randon. He may flip and go at Randon.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any ideas? And also, I will say that you've got a pretty large license for authorship. Like you can think outside the box if you want in terms of what might go wrong.
The obvious one that comes to mind for me is that like he struggles in a way that it hurts him or potentially kills him. Like you can imagine him struggling to escape and just like tearing his throat open.
Mine will be you're forced to follow through on your threat, but he has a lot of that spore in his esophagus that kind of bursts out like one of those spore mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
He could also reawaken those demons.
Yeah, I was gonna say like something in the struggle alerts something that's further along in the tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the what could go wrong part, the GM does retain like the final decision on choosing one of those, but I think those are all fantastic ideas. So I'll keep all of that in mind. So next step is we gather dice. So the risk roll works a little bit different. Take one light colored die if the task is something you were skilled at because of your occupation, background, or training, or because you were taking advantage of a piece of equipment or the environment. Excuse me. It sounds like, yeah, you're making use of your cured beast bitten background and your transformation skill. So you're going to get that first light die.
Okay.
You can get a second light die for accepting a devil's bargain from another player or the GM. So devil's bargains, it says are described in the next section. Devil's bargains are similar to what could go wrong, but they are things that will happen no matter the outcome. So we can all propose a devil's bargain, and then it's the player's choice on which, if any, they will accept for that second light die. But some things to keep in mind when proposing a devil's bargain. You do not want it to negate a success, and you do not want it to guarantee a success, right? Basically, you don't want to have those two extremes where it would override the risk roll itself. So some of the examples given in the book are causing collateral damage or unintended harm, getting lost or separated from your companions, sacrificing an item or piece of treasure, betraying a fellow treasure hunter, or attracting the attention of monsters or other creatures. Again, this occurs regardless of the outcome of the risk roll. So you make the deal, you pay the price, and you get the bonus die. And this is also another place where like you can, the fiction can really shift, from player input, because they could, it could be something like your brother walks into the tomb, right? And if that's what if that's what you want to happen, then okay, it's going to happen, and we're just going to go with that, right? So anyone have any devil's bargains that they would like to offer for Randon to get a second light die?
I threw this out in chat, but I think one idea is that no matter the outcome, you're either wanting him to leave, like go away and leave us be, or you're going to kill him to stop him from doing this harm in some way. Either way, like severs this connection between his eyes that were stolen by the demons, and the demons were using them for some purpose. And as soon as like the eyes fail because of the severed of the connection, which alerts the demons, sets some stuff in motion down the line.
Yeah, I like that. Any other thoughts on potential devil's bargains? Let's see. I I like the collateral damage one. I think Chris offered that as what could go wrong. I'm going to offer that as a devil's bargain. No matter what, you do end up harming this man. I won't say you necessarily kill him, but you do end up harming him through your transformation, and have to deal with that.
Okay.
Any other ideas, Joel or Mike? Any ideas for a devil's bargain to offer?
All I can think of is like, since you're so close to him and kind of like breathing down his neck, maybe he recognizes your scent and like calls you by your brother's name for a second before either you kill him or let him go.
So there's some sort of connection between this man and your brother. Yeah.
I like
Okay.
all of these. These are all great. Shoot. Let's go with him calling me by my brother's name.
Okay.
Let's go with
Very
that.
good. Okay, so you've got a second light die, and then you also have the option to add a dark colored die. You can add a dark colored die if you're willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed. You must include this if you are performing a ritual as part of the task, which you're not in this case. And note that you can actually re-roll risk rolls by adding a dark die after you see the results. Just to go ahead and finish explaining how risk rolls work, if there is a dark die included and that dark die is the highest die and higher than your ruin score, your ruin goes up. So that's how your ruin increases as part of this. So is this something where you're willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed?
Seems a little early for that yet, so I'm going to say no.
All right. So you have 2 light dice that you are rolling.
All right. Let's roll and see what happens. Double twos.
Double 2s. All right. And on a risk roll, on a 1 to 3, you fail and things get worse. The GM describes how. GM may also allow you to succeed, but things will get worse in some other way. So before I answer that, my question for you, Randon, is, first, what is your brother's name?
Baxter.
Baxter. What? How to phrase this question? What trait do you most recall about the druids that hold your brother?
That they constantly spoke in double meanings. Like everything they said had an obvious meaning, but also had an underlying meaning that you usually wouldn't figure it out until later.
Okay. Got to quickly come up with a double meaning. I can do that. So I think you come around and you go to grab this man's throat, and he can feel your claws on him. And then as he speaks, you can feel, his vocal cords vibrating under your hand as his gravelly voice just slowly echoes out. I can still see you, Baxter. You're not as quick as you once were. And I think from there, in a flash of speed, the man twists, pulling this old knife from his hip and lunging at Donan, forcing you maintain your grasp on his throat. And in a grotesque scene, the throat is ripped open, and this spewing of spores comes out of it. Like, and there's like bits of fungus that you can see flopping out from the esophagus and the airways. And he falls forward limply, but there's this cloud of spores that just emanates throughout the area. And Randon, I'm going to go ahead and give you the condition of let's call it pollinated.
I've been pollinated. Oh.
What do you do?
I'm quite visibly shook. I step back. My hand. I don't even seem to be controlling it. My hand like turns back to human form, and I step back, backing into the wall without even realizing that I'm doing it. Just eyeing this old man with it's hard to tell from my face what it is I'm feeling, but definitely feeling something strongly.
Donald would like to treat that. He's hoping that he tries to explain if we try to hold still as much as possible, I may be able to get some of that pollen out, or retrieve it. Just try. Oh shoot! I knew I should have taken that ritual. Damn it! I knew I should have taken that hold ritual. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I could. Would it be possible for me to do something like analogous to like a Heimlich maneuver, just to get him to try to force him to cough up as much of that pollen, just to get out of his esophagus as much as possible? Is that a thing that could happen?
So mechanically, the only way to clear the condition is to go back to town and then spend the gold.
Okay.
To clear the condition. So you can certainly do something in the story if you like, and you want to add that to it. But the condition is going to stick regardless.
Well, I'll just All right. Well.
I'll take some of the herbs you offered him if there's any left.
Yes, there is.
I'll say you don't need to spend another use.
Okay.
He had not taken his numbing herbs.
Oh, true.
So you can retrieve those from him.
What I'm picturing is basically me picking a joint off the floor and just here. But I don't know if that's the same thing you had in mind.
Yeah, I think at this point, I think the best we could hope for is to try to suppress the cough, the inevitable cough, as much as possible, and maybe that's what the numbing could do.
All right, so you're all still in this top room. I'll remind you that there was a second hallway. So there's the one hallway with the descending stairs. There's a second hallway that's probably pretty near to you at this point, because it would have been on the side where the man was kind of huddled. So you have not gone down that way. You've now opened the sarcophagus, and so you've not really investigated the body within it. Would anyone like to do anything?
Check out the body.
Yeah, Gordred would be happy to go pick apart the rich person.
In fact, do we actually know who is buried here? Do we know who this person even is?
Not from just
from Rich.
No, not from just staring at it. There might be something on their person, but that's would be another a hunt roll. So yeah, it sounds like you're investigating the body that was in the sarcophagus. Gordred, I think you're probably taking the lead since you had opened it. Is that right?
Yeah, probably.
Be careful. They can't be that rich if they're in the front room.
Yeah. I think I poke with my staff. I'm like, I'm gonna keep some distance because everything appears to be pollinated here. Give myself a moment to step back if it, I poke it in the chest and it starts breathing on me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's definitely a hunt roll. What do you hope to find?
I hope to find things that are like hidden in the sarcophagus with whoever was buried here.
Okay. And you've already said how you're doing that. You're starting with, using your staff to poke and prod and move things around. So I think that is enough. So you've got the one light die for interacting. The staff unfortunately doesn't count since that's combat equipment. Do you have anything else? Any other skills or items?
You try to make an argument for secrets or persistence, but
I
stretch.
I could buy both of those. I'm even thinking, as an inquisitor,
Or I could just be destruction and
areas.
just not care about the corpse at all and just
There's also that option. Yeah.
bash the thing apart. Yeah, let's go with secrets here because I'm kind of like maybe seeing if there's something hidden beyond the obvious. Like we could strip him of whatever robe he's wearing, but that's boring. There's like I want there to be something special.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say the fine silk clothes is a treasure. So if someone wants to take the time to remove the clothing, that is a piece of treasure you can take back with you.
Would we so mechanically in trophy gold, a quick question, would we spend a hunt token to acquire the robes that are treasure, or do we just get it because narratively we've stripped him of the robes?
Thank you for bringing that up because I don't think I've mentioned that use of hunt tokens. So the robes, you do not need to spend a token. You have found those.
Okay.
You simply just need to take them.
Gotcha.
Yes, hunt tokens. So in addition to be able to spend hunt tokens on achieving set goals, you can use them to find treasure. So anytime, at any point, if you have a hunt token, you can say, you know what, I want to turn in a hunt token and I want to find some treasure. It doesn't need to be part of a hunt roll. It doesn't need to be part of a risk roll. Though oftentimes I find that's when people turn in a hunt token is they'll do a hunt roll, not get treasure. Say, you know what, actually I want the treasure. So that is another use for hunt tokens.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
I will roll 2 light dice.
Yep.
And see how this goes. Badly. That's 2 and a 1.
So thankfully you got the 2, so you don't lose any hunt tokens that you had.
Speaking of hunt tokens, in my life as an uninspired tailor, I would be privy to knowing about hidden pockets that can be inside of especially fancy garments such as what we found here. If I drop my hunt token, could I happen upon some one of those hidden pockets that may have some kind of treasure in there that we may not have thought to look at if you didn't have the trained eye of an uninspired tailor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be back next week, so got to use them while I can.
Exactly. So I think for Gordred, as you are poking and prodding this person, and it sounds like y'all are also going to take the time to remove the silk clothes. You don't find any treasure or anything else in here. But then as you remove the body out of the area, you find a crest that is engraved into the back, what would be the bottom of the sarcophagus. And I want to ask a quick question of Cassian. Okay, let me try and say this. Yogyakarta Lyceum. What is that? That is what kind of organization is that?
It's from the Trophy Gold book, so I will say it is a.
You get to author it in this case.
Yeah. It's a university in kind of one of the more prestigious areas that they've kind of come out with like the more advanced like mages or spellcasters of the time. And it's kind of very difficult to get into, a lot of clout, a lot of like, turning in favors, spending a lot of money just to like get enrolled at this university.
Yes. And you see this crest behind this body that you recognize, Cassian, as being one of the lines of sorcerers that was known to dabble in some of the darker things. Had some real nasty magic in place, and I think you would definitely, as well be wary that you've not encountered anything malicious up here, but that's not to say they've not done something elsewhere in this dungeon, in this tomb.
Okay. And I think, like, let's say we get the silk robes off, but as we start to take more off, Cassian's just kind of like, nope, 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 and like slaps Gordred's hands away and is like, put the clothes back on. Like this guy dabbled in, some real scary stuff. You don't know what might be trapped. And when he sees like Donan looting around for pockets, he's like, don't stick your hands in there. That could be trapped. And is basically just like trying to get it as back to normal as possible.
It's just clothes.
Of course, what Cassian doesn't see is that Donan has already pulled a jeweled ring out of one of those pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So Donan, you've already gotten the ring out. I'm not going to, because you spent your hunt token, right? So you've already gotten it out and pocketed it. It's your call on if you want to put it back, let them know what you found.
I don't think so. I got just the curse to bribe.
All that curse stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could that be?
Cassian's like throwing salt over his shoulder and like trying to cover stuff up.
All right. Well, unfortunately, did not find any hidden items with the body. What would you like to do next?
I try to kind of appease Cassian a little bit. I'm like, okay. Give me a hand. We'll close this back up. It's fine. There's nothing in here anyway.
Yeah. Carefully though, we don't want to trigger any traps.
I don't think there are any traps, but sure.
Okay. And it's like very gingerly covering it up.
I think like as I'm doing this, we like start the discussion around the other passage further in.
Mm-hmm.
But I do raise the idea that if we need to, one way we might be able to deal with pollen is with fire. Although it can be risky if it leads to explosions. We are in a confined space, lack of air, pressure induced by rapid combustion. But it's an idea if we need it.
Randon nods like he understands everything that means.
You're good with fire, right?
Doesn't bother me as long as I'm not on fire.
But like, I've seen you just like make fire before.
Oh, yes.
It's
Yes.
weird. It's weird, but cool.
It's not that weird. But yes.
I mean, I don't
It's a little
produce fire. So it's
Fine.
weird.
It's a little weird. But yes. We might want to take these 2 torches someone left for us.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Forgotten about the torches.
Yeah, I like that idea. So if someone wants to, someone can take both of them, or you can split them up. You have a found equipment area. You can go ahead and put down that you've gained a torch, and just put down that it's like a 3-hour lifespan.
I want to pat down the body of the blind grave robber. I want to see if he's got identification sigils, anything like that on him.
Okay. That sounds like it's going to be a hunt roll.
Right.
So you mentioned you're wanting to find identification sigils. What is it about him or the world that you're trying to learn?
I want to know if he has any connection to either the druids or the crest that Kazian found. I want to know if he has a connection to this tomb other than him just randomly being here.
Sounds good. Okay. Do you have a piece of equipment or a skill that is helping you in this?
Would one of the torches help? So that I can get a closer look and see better.
I don't think lighting is an issue up here because the door is open, so you've got light pouring in.
Yeah, I didn't think so. No, I don't have anything else that would help with this one.
Anything? Do you want to look at the additional backpack equipments
Oh, yes.
and see if there's anything in there?
That is a good idea. It's not, it's sort of a reskinning of something on here. There's like, there's journal in black ink. I want to take out a book that has, I want to take out like my journal, and my journal has a recording of everything that I've learned about the druids so far.
Yeah, that makes total sense for a ranger to have this book, of things they've come across. So
yeah, I like that.
Hunter's
journal.
Yeah, I love that idea that it's your journal. So of course it has this in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there's your second light die.
Perfect. And let's roll.
All right.
6.
You got a 6, which I believe means you get the hunt token, and there is no bad stuff that happens this time. That is right. So take 1 token.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll tell you that you learn from as you kind of look over the body of this person, you don't find any sigils related to what was in the coffin. But you do find markings tying him to the druids. Go ahead and describe what those markings would look like.
They're very what we would call Nordic ruins. Sorry, just marking that down. They tend to there's a couple of astrological signs And the astrological signs all have some kind of like double, triple meaning, like depending where they are. I don't comprehend all of them. But he has a sigil, for example, that indicates that he might be a messenger.
That's excellent. Okay. So I will say the corner from where he stood up, there also now is, you can see there's this, a pile of things in that corner from where he had been staying prior. And then you have there's one other unopened crypt, and you've got the stairs down and the hallway leading out. What would you like to do?
Does someone want to check those items, or should I take that?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I'll go and investigate the items in the corner.
Okay. This is going to be another hunt roll.
Okay.
So what are you hoping to learn in this case?
I'm assuming, and I might not be right, but I'm assuming these are items that he found in the crypt and brought out with him. Like these are things that he thought were going to be treasures. So I want to look at these as sort of artifacts to tell me like what is further on in the tomb. I'm not explaining this right.
I think I get what you're saying. Sort of like,
Yeah.
Like an archaeological site, right? Where you could like
Yes.
deduce, by
Right.
presence of this, we know there's going to be other things. That makes sense.
If he's got a bunch of like dining and silverware, that tells me one thing. If he's got scrolls, that's another thing.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Any items or skills helping in this case?
I don't think I could spin hunting into this.
I don't think so.
No. And I don't think my hunter's journal would do either. Is there something else I can pull out of my backpack? Well, you know what? I'm here. Why not? Another thing that I have in my backpack is a series of parchments that's like a description of what we already know about the Devil's Tomb. So I'm going to use that to compare against these items that I've found and say, okay, so this is saying that this might be in the Devil's Tomb. Okay, that matches this, but it doesn't match this, etc.
That makes sense.
I'm going to write that down. 2 light die.
All right.
That is a 5 and a 2.
Okay. So you get another token. And I believe, encounter something terrible, right? I have to keep scrolling back to that table. Yes. You dig through this man's items, and it looks like there's a bundle of like some basic necessities that you would a grave robber would use just for being on the move. I'll say you do find a pouch that is filled with a white powder, which you would be able to identify as drugs. These are worth a gold back in town. And then what else you find is a plant clipping. There's a clipping of this what is now black and shriveled vine. And that's not the weird part. The weird part is where it looks like it has a flowering bud. There is this small cherub-like angel face that has turned completely black and looks brittle to the touch, like frail paper.
I put that very carefully back down, and I described to everybody else. We may be running into some unusual plants down here. I think we'll need to be very, very careful.
My point still stands about fire.
That is fair.
And I proceed to start lighting my torch.
All right. Donan or Keshian, what are you doing right now?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think Donut would probably want to give you a closer look at that vine up list.
Sure. Yeah, are you think you're just looking at it, or are you doing something with it that would be, further investigation or might tell you something more about the world?
I mean, I could yeah, I guess if I don't immediately recognize it, even just like poking at it with some maybe some of the scalpels from my sewing kit, maybe get a cross section to take a look inside. Just rudimentary stuff like that. I don't really have a great plan for how to really crack into it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, if it works for you, I don't think this is a hunt roll because I'm not sure there's much for you to learn about the world from this.
Yeah.
You can see that this portion of the plant is dead. It looks like it was clipped a while back, and so, with plants, if it's separated from the rest of it, it's not able to live. And I don't think you can make much about the the angel face flower at this point. All right, what else?
Yeah, as far as the torch goes, Gordred is being more defensive about it than a specific plan, although we can continue exploring down this other pathway if we want to see what else we can find before we just cash in hunt tokens.
Yeah, I think as you light the torch too, amplifying the light source in this area, the shadows where they get real heavy around that door, you do start to see light trickling into that area, and you can see a stone outcropping that then seems to almost immediately terminate, except for a bit of a continuation from the center of it. That's about all you can see from standing in this room. You'll have to go head over that way to see what it is.
Yeah, if I notice something, I'll kind of take a few steps towards it, point the light at it.
Yeah, so more. Through this next door, you can see the floor has fallen away and a giant pit plummets deep into the earth. Looking over the edge of the stone, you see this red mass at the bottom, but it's too difficult to tell the depth from where you're at. And even at this height, you can feel heat rising up to this point. It feels like you're looking down to the depths of hell. But moving across this pit, there's this narrow strip of stone, no wider than your foot. It's about 12, maybe 15 feet long, and on the other side is another outcropping. And you can see there's a large door, greenish bronze door, with something written across the front of it. But getting over there definitely seems risky.
Yeah.
Who's got the rope?
I do. I think. Yeah, I have twine, which isn't great, but if you double it up a few times, turn it into a makeshift rope, tie it around waist and explore.
I'm thinking since you're the big guy, you could be the anchor. And one of the smaller folk could head over and investigate what that door says. You know, just in case they fall.
I feel like Cassian might be pretty small, and everyone just kind of like turns and looks at him. He's like, "Oh no!"
Okay, I think I hear a plan forming. So it sounds like we're doubling up twine to make a makeshift rope that's going to go around Cashin's waist, and Cashin's going to try and tiptoe across this small stone crossing. Is that it? Okay.
Mhm.
So this is going to be a risk roll.
Okay.
So first we're going to, let's see, say what you hope will happen. So Cashin, what do you hope will happen?
I hope to make it across this chasm without plummeting to my death.
That's a very good hope. Now we all say what could possibly go wrong.
The twine could snap.
I think the stone crossing could snap.
Which would hurt, but then at least we have a hold on you even if the stone falls.
Any other thoughts?
Something could come up from the pit when someone enters the room.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It could drag down Kaizen and
Mhm.
the ox, Gordred.
Yeah, they could end up in some sort of scenario where they're both at risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we do our own risk rolls, or is it other players?
So for now, only you're doing a risk roll. If we got to a scenario where both were at risk, we'd figure that out. There is a help mechanic as well that isn't in the base PDF. It's a new thing that they're adding where someone can contribute a light die to your risk roll, but they have to say how they're putting themselves at risk. So I think we might go to that if you both were to end up in a risky scenario.
Okay.
But those are all great ideas. So let's do Devil's Bargains next. So Devil's Bargains, anything, something that, it will definitely happen regardless of the results that we think would be interesting to have in the story. Any ideas along that? I will offer that crossing this bridge with the twine, the heat is so great in the center that it burns the twine, and your connection to Gordred is severed. As well as the twine is, I won't say the twine is lost, but you probably lose like a
Some
foot.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it maybe so it's more dangerous to come back.
Right, exactly. Then you've
Kind
got
of
to figure
thing.
out how you're getting back.
Something could speak to you from the depths as you cross through. Maybe it
That's a
tells
good
you
one.
some secret you don't want to know,
Or make you a devil's bargain. The devil's bargain may be
Literally.
a literal devil making you a literal bargain.
That's a great idea. Any others? Mike, any ideas?
The only thing that I could think of is one of those, whatever is plucking eyes around here might emerge from here. It's
Yeah,
the only thing I can think of.
one of the demons. What the man called the demons, at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. Any of those that you want to accept?
Yeah. They're all good. I'll do the, like, as I'm crossing the chasm, something whispers a secret to me.
Okay. And did we say this is a secret that you don't want to hear?
That's how I was framing it, to make it like a negative, like an interesting negative.
Yeah. That works? That's good. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, great. All right, so you've got two light dice for that. And then last is you can add a dark colored die if you're willing to risk your mind or body in order to succeed. And again, you can actually add this after you roll if you want to, if you don't like the results and you want to re-roll.
Okay. I will wait till I see the results, but I do think risking either mind or body would make a lot of sense in this situation. So I will roll 4, which I think was a fail.
So on a 4 or 5, you succeed, but there's some kind of complication.
Okay.
I'll describe the complication, and then you describe how you succeed.
Okay.
So I think you get to hear the outcome before you decide if you re-roll. So I think for the complication, the complication will be that I think you make it across, but the bridge starts crumbling as you cross. It does not fall, but you know there are pieces falling away as you cross over it, and you know the next time it may not support your weight at all. So that's the complication. Do you want to keep that or do you want to re-roll?
I will try re-rolling. So
Okay.
just add a black die and roll that.
Yep, go ahead and add a dark die.
So the dark die was a 2.
Yep. So the dark die is not the highest, so we don't look at it for ruin. Your highest die is still a 4, so I'm going to keep the same complication in place. You can keep adding a dark die. So long as the dark die is not the highest, you can add more.
I'm going to add one more just because. Why not test the system?
All right.
No. So
You got-
dark die is a 6.
So you got a 6, which means you're going to succeed, but your ruin is going to go up.
Okay.
And I think I like the idea that what the secret you're going to learn is what causes the ruin, if that works for you.
Oh yeah.
A secret you wouldn't want to hear. Okay. Let's see. And I realize we're at time. Is everyone okay to go for like maybe 10 more minutes? Because I want to wrap this and then try and get a quick round of stars and wishes. Everyone good with that? Awesome. So I'm looking at your background as the fugitive servant at the Lyceum under the Chancellor, and now your drive is to humiliate the Chancellor. I'm thinking as you're crossing, you hear this deep voice that seems to be in your head, though it seems to your whole being vibrates as it speaks. And it's telling you that you are not as free from the Chancellor as you think. The Chancellor still holds something that's important to you. What comes to your mind as you hear this? What thing or maybe person or what flashes in your mind as you hear the Chancellor has something that you still value and care for?
Since it is a like university where magic is taught, I think like Cashin gets some flashbacks of memories that he didn't realize he had forgotten or were taken from him. And he kind of finds out that the Chancellor took essentially like his childhood or like his childhood memories.
Ah, yes. Things have been kept from you. They did not want you to see them. There are ways to unlock these, though, if you probe deep enough. And then the voice disappears. Describe to us how you succeed at crossing this bridge.
I think it kind of starts out like Cashin is balancing with like the help of Gordred kind of keeping him steady, and then the voice like talks to him, and he kind of like in shock like buckles down a bit and looks behind him to see if like anyone else was able to hear, and then it's just a very undignified like shimmying across while like clutching the narrow bridge for his dear life. Nothing cool or heroic about crossing it, and then like gets to the other side of the outcropping and just like kisses the ground for a second.
And as you lift your face from the ground, you look up and you see written in blood on the green and bronze door that has heavy chains across it, locking it shut. The writing, "Go to Neck," which in this world we would all understand to be the hell, essentially. And then you hear pounding from the inside and screaming as someone's yelling, "Let me out! You can't lock me in here! What's wrong with all of you? You've all lost your minds! Let me out of here!" And that is where we will end. All right. That is the end of this session. I will end the recording now, and we will do Stars and Wishes off the recording. So thank you, everyone, for watching.